everybody, welcome to Blue Goose Garage. I just got done putting the alternator that's over here on. Those have both been rebuilt now. The one on the right is the one running the van. The one on the left is the one that I had converted to a one wire. That alternator is going to have a wire hooked up to it that I'm going to run to the back of the van, under the van, and hook up to a second battery. That second battery, the idea of that is to run a power inverter that runs things like fans and drills and air conditioners and heaters and stuff like that. The one on the right will just run the van. Now, I've seen this done before, and most people just run everything off of one alternator. You could do that if that one alternator fries because you're using it to charge two batteries, or you're using it to charge one battery that's running the van and a power inverter, and it fries. You'd be screwed. The way this works, if that alternator that I had converted to a one wire burns up, it's not going to strand me anywhere. Vans have a passenger side alternator bracket. If they had air conditioning, it's on the driver's side, which is exactly backwards of what OBS 90s trucks did. 90s trucks, the alternator was over here and the air conditioner was on the right. I was on the passenger side. So when I was putting this engine in this van, I'm running the van stuff on the passenger side and truck stuff on the driver's side. Even though it has a remote reservoir power steering pump, which is what that hose is running up through there, it bolts up the same, and there's room to put the alternator on this side. So I've got two alternators. They're independent from each other. To me, it was a good idea. Everything just bolts up. You don't have to customize anything. The only thing you do have to get special is a belt. You have to figure out what length you need. That's what length mine ended up being. Duralast. But like I said, that might not be the one that you end up needing. Alright. It is showing 13.2. Let's plug this light up into it. .9, 25% draw, or less, I guess. Plug the shop light into it. It is working. Eventually, I'll get a bigger inverter. Alright, so the way I've got this wired, that's the ground wire. It's running through that hole in the floor. And I've got it bolted up to a bolt on the hitch. That smaller wire is running through the hole in the floor. And I don't know if you can tell it, but I put a piece of hose around it, zip tied, and screwed it down to the floor. It's getting the ground right there. You can see that I cleaned that up and bolted it to it. And they come through the floor right up there. The wire going back to the alternator is zip tied and screwed all the way up to the front of the van. Running up through here, it's attached under the floor about right here, up away from the fuel lines, and then it's ran from here to here. I zip tied it to basically anything it was near that I thought might move, and it's hooked up to the back of that alternator. Like I said at the beginning of this video, that alternator is a one wire conversion. So when it's running, it's charging. And you don't have to run any other wires to it to make that work. I could have put a standard alternator on it, did a little bit of wiring on a switched wire with a light bulb and had an idiot light for that alternator, but I really wasn't concerned about it. I just wanted it to work when it was running and not do anything when it wasn't. So I've got to work on a battery tray up here for the van. The battery tray that was on it, it's a little bit shot. Kind of missing. Kind of have a Bluetooth battery box. These vans are kind of bad for doing that because whatever water hits here goes down on the battery, gets the battery box wet, and it rusts, and acid. So between the acid and rain, it didn't really have a chance. I cut the bottom off of that piece of it, and I've ground that good enough that I can weld on it. I unbolted this piece of it, and I'm going to grind that clean so I can remove it if I ever needed to. Mostly I'm not doing it solid. It's not going to be a piece of metal. It's going to be angle iron sitting on top of that across that way and back. So it's going to be a rectangle angle iron battery tray that the bottom's open on. So if water happens to, well, when water gets down there, it can just go on. The reason I am messing with this, they had a piece of plywood in the bottom of that box. It made the battery hit the bulkhead connector for the wiring, which meant that you wasn't able to get the battery all the way back. It had it set crooked. And before I got this van, at one point in time, somebody had already busted out a headlight from the battery sliding forward because there was nothing to hold it down. Even if it hadn't have had the mount, if it would have still had the lips, it might not have came forward. This van had hit something at one point in time hard enough that it pushed the bumper back, and when I was putting the engine in it, I had to take the roll back and pull that out so I could get the balance. But you can still see where the bumper was against that. So either that made the battery come and hit the headlights, or it hit a deer, or it hit something. I know it hit some stuff on the passenger side because last year I fixed that step on this side. And a couple days ago I got up here and fixed that rear side door. Well, knocked it back out. It was caved in pretty much from there down. It was knocked in. So I took and pried it back out and kind of just, it's not soda cannon, but if you feel of it, you know, it's wavy, but it's better than being knocked in. For now, I'm going to go ahead and edit this video and post it up. I'll show you in the next video on the van, the alternator working. I know it was working before. Well, I know that alternator works because he tested it for me, so I know it works, and so it should work on this. The only question that I have is if my wiring is heavy enough to run it. That was the biggest gauge wire that I had without running out and buying something. So it should work. All it's doing is charging the battery. If it gets hot or whatever, I have some battery cables and some old jumper cables and stuff, so I could, in theory, put a couple things together and run it to the back of the van, and I would have a bigger gauge wire, but I don't think it'll be a problem. The gauge of the copper is bigger than the wire that was running from the factory alternator. We'll find out. I mean, hopefully the worst thing that happens is it would pop the wire somewhere. There's really nothing flammable under the van, and I tried to keep it away from things that it could hurt. So, well, I tried to keep it away from things that it would matter if it hurt. Like it's not zip tied to a fuel line. I'll see you again next time. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Bye. Wait, whoa. Wait a minute. This is a van video. I hadn't done one of these in a long time. I'll see you again next time. Keep on vanning.